Hello, my name is Dr. Colin Hill, and I teach percussion at Tennessee Tech University. Today I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about a tune that I played with the faculty jazz ensemble here at Tennessee Tech. It was called Live at the Loading Dock, written by Chris McCormick. And in this tune I have a few solos that are 8 bars long. And I just wanted to take a minute to tell you guys how I constructed those solos and kind of what the thought process was behind those solos. So I think the first thing to talk about is whenever you're doing a solo, it's not purely improvised in the moment. And I think that's maybe a misconception among a lot of young jazz musicians, is that solos aren't totally improvised, made up on the spot. A lot of times we'll work up licks and ideas and we'll practice them, and then maybe the order in which the licks come out is improvised, or maybe the ideas that link our preset ideas are improvised. But really, I kind of know what I'm going to do leading into the solo, so it's not just on the spot improvisation. So here are some ideas that I kind of predetermined that I was going to use in this tune. And these ideas were determined based on the tempo and the style of this tune. This tune is kind of a medium swing. So in my first 8-bar solo, the main idea that I started with was a very simple 8th note bass rhythm that I just decided I was going to reorchestrate, move around different drums. So the rhythm is just this: 1, a 2, a 3, a 4. And I just move them around the drums. But the key thing with this lick is that I put a bass drum in the mix as well. So I can use my foot as another hand, essentially. Alright, so the rhythm is just... Alright, the other thing you can do is you can also mix that up with essentially more rapid use of the bass drum. So you could go like this. Again, I'm just playing swung 8th notes. 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and if I move that around, alright? And then I can kind of interchange both of those two ideas together and get a little more interest in the idea. Alright? And then the last thing I can do with that lick is I can use maybe a different voice, right? This is a really common sound where I put the stick on the head and click it. Right, you can do the same sort of vocabulary with this. Alright, so that's one lick that I used. Another lick that I used was a system of stickings called the right hand lead system. And this really was taught through a book by Ted Reed called Syncopation. This is a snare drum book, but it's used a lot in jazz curriculums to try to teach kind of some jazz ideas. So this sticking system is pretty simple in that I play any kind of rhythm with my right hand, right? And then I fill in all the inner triplets with my left hand, right? So if I just take a really simple rhythm, how about like a 1, 2, a 3, 4. If I take that rhythm and I take this sticking pattern, I'll play all those notes with my right hand and fill in all the low 8th note triplet taps with my left hand. And then I can move that rhythm around. Right? And then of course I can play other rhythms, right? I can play any rhythms I want with my right hand. I'll just kind of improvise some rhythms, and then I'll improvise filling in with my left hand. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now if I fill it in, right, you can get a whole series of cool melodies and licks just using that sticking system. So then in my second 8-bar solo, I chose a different lick to start out with, and this is a really common lick. This is something that I didn't invent, and in fact all these licks I'm showing you I did not invent. And I think this is a good lesson to learn as a young jazz musician, is that you don't have to invent your own licks, your own fills. Borrow them from the masters. There's so many great recordings out there, YouTube videos, that if you watch and you see something cool that you like, take a second and transcribe it, write it down, figure out what they did. So this is an example of that. This is not something I invented. A really common drum set lick. It's triplets, but you go hand, hand, foot. So hand, hand, foot, hand, hand, foot. And if you move your hands around, you get some really kind of cool sounds and some interesting melodies. Alright? So that's a really great one. You can play that one at all different speeds. You can get it pretty quick, right? You get a really cool sound that's pretty easy on the body. You can also take that same idea and adapt it to 16ths. You'll see this a lot in funk or rock styles where you go hand, hand, foot, foot. You get some really cool ideas that way too. Alright, the last lick that I kind of used in this tune was a simple rhythm of going from 8th notes to 8th note triplets. Right, of course that's swung though, so if I play 8th note swung, it's really that. Alright, and then I put accents on the upbeats and I change the sticking. I think both of those things can take a normal rhythm and make it sound jazz-like. Triplets obviously are a common rhythm in jazz music, but also emphasizing upbeats is a common thing. If you emphasize all downbeats, it's going to sound not in the style. There's a lot of syncopated accents in jazz. So I take that rhythm and I add upbeat accents, and then I'm going to change the sticking. On the trip I'm going to do right, right, left, right, and it just flows really good, and again adds a little bit, it kind of takes the squareness out of the rhythm. It makes it swing a little bit more. So that's my lick right there. I'll do it again. Right, left, right, right, left, right, with accents on the upbeats. So that rhythm is really great. You can use it a lot of different ways. And it adds just a really nice melodic motive to work from. So those are some of the ideas that I thought about when I was creating my solo. I hope that helped, and best of luck with all your jazz studies moving forward.